Let me start with a confession. For years, I did what every book and every gardening blog tells you to do with worms. Coffee grounds, banana peels, shredded paper, eggshells. It worked. But my worms never really took off. They stayed small, slow, and my castings production was sluggish. Then I tried something most worm keepers avoid. I gave my worms rice. Not leftovers covered in sauce, not oily fried rice, just plain, cooked, cooled rice. And I'll tell you, I've never seen worms react to food like this before. They swarmed it, devoured the microbes growing on it, and within weeks, they were thicker, livelier, and multiplying like crazy. In this guide, I'll walk you through exactly how I fed rice to my worms safely, what type of rice works best, and the results you can expect if you do it right. Stick with me, because this one simple tweak can turn an average worm bin into a powerhouse. Here's the secret most people overlook. Worms don't actually eat food scraps. They eat the bacteria and fungi that colonize those scraps as they break down. Rice happens to be a starch that microbes absolutely love. Once it cools and goes into your bin, it becomes a breeding ground for beneficial microbes in record time. That microbial bloom is like a buffet for your worms, which is why they rush toward it and feed more aggressively. Instead of waiting weeks for a banana peel to soften, the worms get an immediate food source that fuels rapid growth and reproduction. Now that power comes with a risk. Rice can go anaerobic, slimy, sour, and stinking if you dump in too much. That's why most guides warn against it. But if you control the portions and bury it correctly, rice goes from a liability to one of the best growth boosters you can give your worms. The first time I tried this, I started with a golf ball-sized clump of plain white rice. I buried it about 2 inches deep, right in the bedding, and then covered it with shredded cardboard. Within 48 hours, that spot in the bin was crawling with worms. They weren't nibbling casually, they were piled in, plumper and more active than anywhere else. From then on, I made rice a supplement in their diet. About once every 10 to 14 days I'd add another small portion, always buried, always plain. That routine was the sweet spot. The rice broke down quickly enough to keep the worms energized, but not so much that the bin turned sour. The key is restraint. Too much rice, and you'll end up with clumps that rot instead of colonize, which can stress the worms. Not all rice is equal when it comes to worms. Plain white rice works best because it's simple starch, quick to break down, and doesn't carry much oil. Brown rice can be used, but it's slower to decompose and sometimes develops sour spots if your bin runs damp. What you absolutely don't want to do is feed them rice that's been salted, buttered, or cooked in oil. Those additives harm the worms and upset the microbial balance. If all you've got is leftover plain rice, rinse it in water first before feeding, but if you really want consistent results, just make a small fresh batch, let it cool, and feed them clean portions. By week 3, my worms had noticeably bulked up. They were thicker, shinier, and reproducing faster than they ever had before. The bin itself looked more alive. Bacteria and fungi were cycling through scraps more quickly, and the castings were darker and richer. The biggest payoff? Harvest time. I went from waiting months for a decent amount of vermicompost to pulling out trays that were finished in nearly half the time. And when I spread those castings in the garden, the difference in plant health was just as dramatic. Rice is not a miracle cure, but used wisely, it's one of the most effective supplements you can add to a worm bin. Think of it as a high-energy treat that accelerates growth and reproduction. Stick to plain, cooked, cooled rice, keep the portions small, bury them in bedding, and feed only every couple of weeks. Do that, and you'll see worms that aren't just surviving on scraps, but thriving and multiplying at a pace that transforms your composting system. If this helped you, make sure to subscribe to Botanical Bliss and share this with other gardeners who want healthier soil, bigger worm populations, and better compost. The more of us who get this right, the more fertile our gardens will be. Botanical Bliss.